In our PHP Programming Basics collection, we talk a bit about what a front controller is. Basically, it's a way to route all requests to your site in through a single file, so you have total control over what you do with any request to the site. So if, for example, you needed to take the site down to perform some maintenance, you could just change one file and adjust the response regardless of what the URL is. Now, the way we create a front controller is by using our htaccess file, which is a way to configure the Apache server. We tell it to route everything to our front controller except files that already exist or directories that already exist. So that's the first step. Let's do that now. I'm going to jump to our resource pack directory, and we're going to copy step 10, htaccess preparing for front controller. And we'll jump over to our examples folder and paste it in and rename it .htaccess. Let's take a look at this in our editor. We go into more detail about how this works in our other videos, but for now, suffice it to say that this is wrapped in an if module, so it's checking to see if mod rewrite exists. If it does, it's going to turn the rewrite engine on. It's going to check to make sure that the file name doesn't exist, or that if it's a directory, that the directory doesn't exist. And then we're going to route everything in through our front.php file. So our next step then is creating our front.php file. So let's go to our resource pack directory, and let's copy this 11th step, front.php, adding a front controller, and paste it inside of our examples folder, and rename it front.php. Let's compare the two in our file comparison tool. We have init.php on this side and front.php on this one. So at the very top, everything is identical. But then we create a URL map. And this is basically setting us up so that we can take a URL and say, if we have this URL, we want to include this particular file. Now, without a front controller, our pages are directly tied to files. So if you want a URL that is /blog.php, you will have to create a file called blog.php. If you want something at article/october.php, you would have to create an october.php file inside of the article directory. This also means that you have to have the .php extension in the URL as well. So we're really limited there. Once we have a map to map the URL to a particular file, then we can put those files anywhere. We can name them anything. And all we have to do is create the code to include the proper file, which is easy enough. So we're mapping hello over to the hello.php file inside of the current directory where our front.php file lives, and then by in the same file. So we already have our by.php, and our index.php is about to become hello.php. Next, we're going to get the current path by using the getPathInfo method of our request object. And then we're going to see if there's an item inside of our mapping array that matches the path. So we're saying path, and we're using that as a key inside of our map array, and we're checking is set. If so, then we're going to require the value of that array item. So if it was /hello, we would include the hello file. If we don't have a match, then we're going to go ahead and set the status code to 404 and set the content to not found. And then finally we'll send our response. So this seems pretty sane. Let's give it a test. In order to support this, we'll have to create our hello.php file from our index file, adjust the code a little bit so we're no longer using our include file, and then we'll adjust the same thing in our by.php file.